time?
I got 4:59.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, I'm looking at Paul Gazelka and my TV. I gotta turn that off.
So has 1 minute passed?
Yep, pretty close. We're
I'm
good.
at 4:59.
Yep.
I will call the Independent School District 42 School Board meeting to order June 15th, 2020 at 5 p.m. And we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'll read our statement. Little Falls Community Schools general process for remote school board meetings. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home, and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting of the Little Falls School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it is not feasible for at least one board member, the superintendent, or the school district's legal counsel to be physically present at the regular meeting location, and that it is not feasible for the public to attend this meeting at the regular meeting location due to the health pandemic. All votes will be conducted by roll call. Each school board member should wait until their name is called before voting. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording will be made available on the school district's website as soon as reasonably possible. Item number 3 is the mission statement. Little Falls Community Schools promotes personal and academic excellence in a collaborative, safe, and engaging environment. Item number 4 is approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
Jay
Brad Lager,
approved.
so moved.
Okay, so that was Brad and
Jay.
Jay. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
and myself, yes. I assume we have no public comments? Okay. The consent agenda, item number 6. This includes the personnel and the approval of the prior meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Brad Lager, so moved.
Okay, Brad, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So that passed. Okay, resolution for acceptance of gifts. Jay, did you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
I don't have the
Okay,
printed
I'll
copy,
just
so
read it.
you
I think
better.
I've got it here. Give me 1 second to flip. Here we go. Member Adamick introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas the following have generously offered to donate to Little Falls Community Schools. Michael Bauman, donation of $1,000 to the Al Bauman Memorial Scholarship. Coburn's Incorporated, donation of $2,000 for books for the Culinary Pro Start class. Robert and Nancy Keaton, donation of $167 to Little Falls Schools for the Continuing Ed Center Scholarship Fund. Philip and Susan Persapio, and Wendy and Gregory Zilka. And let's see, Nancy and Bob Keaton each have a donation of $167 to Little Falls Schools for the Continuing Education Center Scholarship Fund. Rod and Julie Miller, donation of $300 to the Lindbergh Elementary Social Work Fund. Mary Larson, donation of $500 for the Activities Banquet for Athlete of the Year. Belle Prairie Township, donation of $500 to Community Services for Youth Recreation. Flyer Athletic Boosters, donation of $5,000 as per the scoreboard advertising agreement. Donations for the Family Engagement Night at Lindbergh Elementary. Little Falls Greenhouse, $25 gift card. Papa Murphy's, donation of 3 free large pizza certificates. Subway, donation of 6 $5 gift cards. Sanchez Burrito, donation of 2 $5 gift cards. Central Minnesota Federal Credit Union, donation of 12 piggy banks. Randall State Bank, donation of 4 $25 Boone's Market gift cards. Pine Country Bank, donation of $200. Babies on Broadway, donation of $300 in puzzles and family games. Therefore, be it resolved by Little Falls Community School Board of Education to gratefully accept these gifts. Before we vote, is there a second to this resolution?
Second.
A
Jay.
second by Jay. We'll do a roll call vote. Are any questions first? Okay. Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So we are grateful for the donations from all these individuals and organizations. We will move on to reports from board members. Mark, do you have a report?
Nothing to report.
Okay, we'll go to Brad,
Nothing to report.
Julie,
Nothing to report.
Jay,
Nothing at this time.
and myself. I guess I'll just say that my plant sale is going to run through Saturday. And apparently the critters are getting tired of waiting for me to get my plants out in the garden to eat them. Because today I noticed the rabbits had been in the greenhouse and eaten some plants on the bottom shelf. So hopefully that will not happen again. We'll go to Steve for Superintendent's Report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, take your rabbits over the bears. which have
That's
stated-
true.
Yes, I half expect one to run through the building here today. We've seen a bear sighting at the middle school the last 2 days. I got a call from the chief of police just a couple hours ago that the bear had been sighted here again.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, interesting bear stories. So
Doesn't it know we have long distance learning?
exactly, yeah. If you looked at the paper this weekend, you saw that our community education booklet or brochure was in the paper a couple months later than what we normally do, but I'm gearing up for a June 22nd start with a number of our community recreation offerings, and so we anticipate really good response. Drivers training started last week, so things are really off and running. And sometimes when you're at work these days, it almost feels kind of normal. But then you sit back and think, and it really isn't very normal that we're just starting our recreation activities now. But I do anticipate that we'll have good participation and we'll move forward. Speaking of good participation, the parent survey that we sent home a week ago Sunday night for the first time, and then resent it on Thursday. The response has been phenomenal, really phenomenal. Close to 1,000 respondents, which is exactly what we wanted. And it's a pretty simple response, and we're just really asking how people are feeling heading into the start of a 2020-21 school year with their children in school. And so without having gone in and created any kind of statistical data yet, we're still getting some responses. It's overwhelmingly yes that they're going to come back, but please don't mistake that for complacency on our part, that we're satisfied with a high percentage of yes. We want an even higher percentage of yes. And so what will happen is On Wednesday, again, I have an admin meeting, and we'll decide at that meeting how we're going to go about taking the no data, the folks who are a little anxious about their children coming back, and reach out to those folks to try and help create meaningful education plans beginning in the fall. Understanding that, for a lot of children who are health compromised, coming back into the building might not be the best immediate action for them, especially as 2.5 months from the start of school. And so our challenge is knowing this early enough where we can work with each student and each family to create a plan that works for them. When I first talked to you guys 4 or 5 years ago about personalized learning, those were the exact same things I said then. Ironic how suddenly personalized learning has taken on a different perspective now that we're in a pandemic, but it's really what we have to do. We have to look at each kid individually, each family individually, and how are we going to create and meld a plan that gets those children to participate in our school in the best way possible. So I don't see those no's as an albatross. I see them as an opportunity for us to really make meaningful connections with families that will allow us the opportunity to continue to educate their children. So, we're about 11.5 weeks or 12 weeks away from the start of school. So we have time on our side to go forward and do this. It's why we wanted to get that information as soon as possible. But overall, I can't tell you how satisfied I am with the results. That tells us an awful lot of things just by the number of people that have responded. And so those are positives for us as we now take the time that we have to create a plan that'll work for our families.
Hey, Steve,
I'm sorry.
how many surveys were sent out?
However many families we have. And so I don't know that because they're done through the Sky Alert system. So if you're on the contact list, you get signed up. So certainly some of those are duplicates, although it's a very small amount. But I would say at this point we're probably approaching 70 to 75% of a response rate, which is really pretty good. Mark will continue crunching those numbers for us as we go forward. And we will also be attempting to communicate with those who haven't responded. We'll be able to figure that out as well. And so one of the things we want to do throughout the next 12 weeks is over communicate with our people. I don't think we can communicate too much heading into a time that is fraught with anxiety.
Thank you.
We've created a communication plan that is kind of a multifaceted approach to keeping our news in front of our people as much as we possibly can. So again, over the next 12 weeks, you'll see a planned communication strategy that will keep Little Falls Community Schools in the forefront, not just through social medias, but through other methods as well. And ranging from obviously the survey to kindergarten information, to personalized learning, to connections with families at home, to services that we can help with that were omitted during distance learning. But again, we just want to make sure that our folks realize in the community that we're still here, we're viable, and we want your children in our school system as we go forward. So our plan at this point, and this morning I went around to the elementary principals. Tomorrow I meet with Wade and Tim as we prepare for Wednesday's meeting to again talk about what are we going to look like if we're not in one of two areas, if we're not in every kid every day or no kid any day to start the school year. What does that look like for us? In other words, what's a hybrid model going to look like for us that's going to operate the best that we can? And so that's what we're trying to vet. That's the kind of plan that we would announce by July 15th. What we would look like if every kid isn't here or no kid is here. What are we going to look like? And so it's very possible that the elementary could look different than the middle school, which could look different than the high school. That's just a realization that one size does not fit all as we go forward, which I think is really an important realization. And again, that in my estimation solidifies why communicating with our families over and over again is an important step forward as we go. So July 15th is our plan to release. MDE is looking at doing something by the end of July, so the week of July 29th. I like the extra 2 weeks for us. We can always backtrack from a released plan. It's hard to make it more hybrid than what it would be once something is released, or if you wait too close to August, where anxieties start to build up. So by July 1st, internally, I hope that we have a pretty good idea of what we're looking at, where we'll be able to start to really vet out the circumstances that we can't control, and what are those going to look like. So circumstances we can't control, for example, what happens if somebody gets COVID? What happens with, at least at this point, we can't control those right now. Eventually we're going to have to control them because they might happen to us. But other pieces that aren't going to necessarily influence our plan at this point would be transportation. As we've said before, the way that the guidelines are written right now, in a 72 passenger bus, you can only get 13 kids. Well, we know that's not realistic. We know that there's no way that the state of Minnesota can say, we're going to allow you to have kids back in your building, but you can only bring there 13 kids at a time on a bus. There's not enough money to make that work. And so even though that concerns me, I don't want that to derail us as we're building the plan, because I just feel that that's going to be taken care of one way or another. Childcare becomes a really big concern, especially as we look at the elementary, not so much at the middle school and high school. But again, we've had these conversations. We've reached out to community partners. We're trying to figure out what this really looks like. Again, part of the communication part with our parents is, okay, what's going to work for you with childcare? Will you need childcare? Is there a system that we can put in place where you have family members that could help out in this time? And so all of those extensualities take time for us to solve, and that's what we're going to try to work with here through the next 12 weeks as we go forward. So we're 4 weeks away from announcing our plan. It's 7 weeks after that till the start of school. So we're really excited to get something out and really start vetting it. But we want to make sure that it's as good as possible when we go forward. Our principals have started to meet with staff to start running their ideas by them. So this won't be a surprise to the majority of our staff, because they will have heard it or seen it or had conversations with our principals about it before we get to that point. So obviously we want our staff to buy into this as much as possible. But as many teachers said, at the end of distance learning, I don't care what it looks like next year, as long as I have kids in front of me some point during the day. So I think as we go forward, that will be our plan over the next month, trying to prepare for this. Legislature, as you know, is back in session. We'll see what happens there. There's a lot of education stuff out there. I don't expect much in the way of policy, because they're really scrambling about the budget piece, the dollar and cents. But I've been wrong before. Maybe knowing that they can't do anything about the dollars and cents means that they're going to try to get their favorite policy point pushed through to further make our life more challenging here in the school system. That's my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, Steve, I just have a couple thoughts or questions. Do you plan to be reaching out to other superintendents in the county, kind of like you work with for graduation, that type of thing?
Yep, we do that. Yep, we do that on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So we meet via Zoom once a week to talk about things. And again, it's evident, and Mark can probably back this up. We do meet with them, but I can't be influenced by them, because they are quite a bit behind us. Okay. in our approach. And so ironically that you brought that up, Kathy, because my challenge to my principals is this: I don't want you to fix this problem for this fall. I want you to think about how you want your school to be 3 years down the road. So don't think of it as an emergency plan that's going to be in effect for September and then pushed back once this is over, maybe in January, February, March, April, May, whatever it may be. I want this to be a stepping stone to what we eventually want our schools to look like 3 years down the road. And quite frankly, other schools aren't anywhere near that, especially in our region. And so, yes, we definitely get good ideas from each other. I tell them what we're thinking, but I think we're just a little farther ahead along this path than they are.
And one other thought I had was, if one of our staff members gets COVID or a spouse gets COVID, are we going to meet with union or something, or set up some kind of system that would be sick leave to deal with COVID cases, I guess is what I'm saying.
And right now what I'm going to say is I'm going to say that's way bigger than me, because we're going to need guidance from the legislature, from MDE, and from admin along that line. And so my expectation, Kathy, and I could be dead wrong, but what I expect to happen based off the chatter I'm hearing is that they will come out with recommendations, but then push it to the local school district to come up with their guidance based off what MDE, admin, the MSBA, whoever else gets involved with that to understand. Because quite frankly, that's a big deal. It's not only a big deal when somebody gets it, it's a big deal when we have staff members who don't even want to set foot in the building right now, looking ahead to the fall. How are we going to handle those cases as well? Again, statistically speaking, somebody at some point is going to get it, either a student, an adult. How are we going to handle that when it happens? Is it full-scale shutdown, or is it just the realization that, yeah, somebody got COVID, we'll do our stuff, but we're not shutting down the whole system?
Okay.
I think that has to come from somebody higher up than me.
Steve,
Those are just a couple things I thought of, so.
Thank you.
Steve, a
Anyone
quick
else have
question.
any?
Yes, Madam Chair. Steve, we only have so many contracted days with our principals. And I'm, this looks like a year-round situation with our administrative team. Have we talked about that, or have we discussed those issues, or?
We're in good shape.
We're in good shape with
We're
that?
in good shape. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I have had those conversations with each of the principals, and sometimes you go through a hurricane or whatever it might be, and you just say that's a once in a lifetime event.
Yes.
This is a once in a lifetime event, and our people here are really, really good, and they understand that.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's next, Kathy?
Kathy looks frozen. Mark, can you resuscitate Kathy? I think she's frozen.
No, I cannot resuscitate her. Sorry. She looks like she's gonna log out and come back in.
How's camping going, Mr. Deal?
It's a really windy over here.
Yeah, not a very nice day here.
It's been, my face is a little windburned at the moment.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Mark?
I don't know if you can see that, but that was on I took walking the dog this morning. Look at that rainbow at the end of my driveway, or the end of my road.
Yeah, we
Isn't
had
that cool?
we had 1/100 of an inch of rain, which was an enormous amount for what we've had. I think we're on, should somebody have to pick this up? We're on old and unfinished business.
Yep. So that would be, I think it would be Jay, but Jay doesn't have a hard copy in front of him. Jay, do you want to
I have one.
somebody else?
Well, I suppose we're gonna have, we've
Yeah.
still got a quorum here, so, yeah, go ahead, Brad. If you got a hard copy there, you can.
I do. The next thing on the agenda is old and unfinished business. And 10.1 is the approval of the band trip in March 2021, and it's an action item. The band will no longer be taking a cruise in March of 2021. There are 2 new possible locations. Please see the attached itineraries. And the suggested recommendation is that they move that the Board of Education approve the band trip in March of 2021. And I think, Steve, you've got some information about the itineraries. I believe they're in Texas or somewhere, correct?
I went that.
There were 2 trips, one to Memphis and Nashville area and one to San Antonio. The preferred trip would be to San Antonio. So as you approve tonight, certainly you can approve both itineraries, but please know that Band Director Todd Peterson says that San Antonio would be the preferred destination.
Yeah,
Any
went
other
through this
discussion?
last time. Brad?
Jay?
Jay, we went through this at the last meeting we had, and we talked about it, and
Not
That was at
that I'm
the
aware of.
Personnel Committee meeting, Jay, where we talked
was
about
that what
that.
it was? Okay.
Yep.
I knew it was someplace.
Yep.
Is everybody okay with taking a vote to approve this?
I'll make a motion, we approve the trips, whichever one they decide.
Okay, so Mark made and do we have a second?
Jay seconds it.
Jay seconds it.
Can I
I guess
just,
we have to have a roll call vote. I don't have that in front of me, but I'll just do Mark.
Wait a minute.
Brad, I need to interject just one thing. Can I
Yes,
just
sir.
interject one thing? Please know that there is an out should that necessity become mandatory based off of, again, the COVID piece. So please.
Amen. I just hope that's a given on all of them
Yep.
with those. So with that in mind, I'll just do a roll call vote since we have a quorum. Mark,
Yes,
Jay,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
and myself, yes. 10.2 would be the approval of the Spanish Club Costa Rica trip in June of 2022. So that's been moved back another year. When the presentation was originally given, they were planning on June of 2021. They have now changed the date to June of 2022. The suggested recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the Spanish Club Costa Rica trip in June of 2022. Do we have any discussion?
No, we have to have a motion first.
Well, then does somebody want to make a motion to approve that?
Jay will make a motion to approve it.
Okay, motion by Jay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Mark Gerby. Any discussion? And
Board
again,
member- Board
again,
members,
what Steve said, based on everything being okay with the COVID or any other pandemic that might be occurring.
yep. And in speaking with the advisors, they just moved it back one full calendar year.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. Mark,
Yes,
Jay,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Motion carried. 11.1, the approval of the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. I'm sure this is for the November election. We have 3 candidates that are or 3 positions that are up for a vote. And the suggested recommendation is that one of the board members would move that the Board of Education approve the resolution establishing dates for the filing of the affidavits of candidacy. Do we have a motion to put it on the floor?
I thought it was a resolution.
It is a resolution. Yep, it is a resolution. So
Okay.
I'll read it if somebody wants to approve it with a first so I can read it.
Okay, that's what I asked.
Just
Do we
read
have
it.
a first?
I'm not
So-
first and I think I'm up for reelection.
All right. No, you're not.
If we don't have it, I don't get the boot.
So I'll read it if somebody introduces the following resolution and moves for its adoption. I need somebody to do that, then I can read it.
I think Mark Gerby just did that.
Okay, Mark Gerby just did it. All right. Resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 482, the period for filing affidavits of candidacy for the Office of School Board Member of ISD 482 shall begin on July 28th and shall close on August 11th, 2020. An affidavit of candidacy must be filed in the office of the school district clerk and the $2 filing fee paid prior to 5 o'clock on August 11th, 2020. The notice of said filing date shall be in substantially the following form. We'll look for a second on that. Oh, no, now you do your roll call vote. I'm sorry.
Okay, roll call vote. Mark,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
and myself, yes. We have an approval. Item 11.2 would be the approval of changes for the 2020-2021 school calendar. And this is an action item. And the suggested recommendation is that somebody would move that the Board of Education approve the changes to the 2020-21 school calendar that would have 5 student contact days to the flexible professional development days for certified staff. I believe Steve presented this to us at the last meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Motion by Mr. Gerby. Do I have a second?
Jay will second it.
Okay, Jay seconded it. Any discussion? Steve, you want to
Board
go through
members,
this?
yep. So board members, we eliminated 5 student contact days, September 25th, November 25th, January 22nd, June 1st, and June 2nd. Ostensibly for staff members, certified staff members, to prepare for, as I talked about earlier in my superintendent report, the plan that we don't know is what it's going to look like yet. What we do know is that regardless of what the plan is, any additional time that a teacher can have to prepare curricular-wise or platform-wise is going to be helpful for them. I'll create an MOU with the EMLF. We'll also address the other contracts as they would be impacted: food service, paraprofessionals, secretaries, whose days are more dependent upon student contact day numbers than salaried employees in the district are. So we will make sure that nobody loses any days through this change, this 1-year change in these 5 days.
We have a history of this. When we instituted the iPads, I believe we took 5 days for the training and implementation the first year of our iPads. So this has been done before. I think it's basically the same plan that we had when Mr. Trigestead introduced the iPads. Kathy, are you back? I see.
I'm back. My
All right.
battery died.
All right.
Even though I charged it,
Well, Kathy, I just jumped in.
well, good.
We are now ready to vote for the approval
Of the
changes
calendar.
of the calendar in 11.2. So, Madam Chair, you can take this over again.
Okay. Since there's no other discussion, we'll vote. Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So now we'll move on to item 11.3, approval of 1,300 devices with cases using the CARES Act funding. So we need a motion to approve the purchase of these devices.
Brad Lager, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mark. I'm sure there's some discussion, so I'm not sure if Steve or Mark, one of you are going to fill us in, or
I'm gonna turn it over to the technological guru.
Okay.
Madam
Who
Chair,
are we
Ready,
on?
Shelley?
what was that comment?
I said I was going to ask Shelley if she was going to present.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Madam Chair, members of the board, it became really apparent when we were doing the distance learning this spring that we needed to do something to help our younger learners be able to more actively engage in the distance learning process. And that was going to require that we provide them with a better device than what they had. The current devices they were using are 6 years old. And so when the CARES funding became available, one of the things that they targeted was devices for younger students, or for any students, technology devices for students. And so we are asking that you would approve the purchase of these devices for our students. There are the devices are going to come from Apple. There'll be iPads again. But I would like to make note of one thing. We are going to be ordering the vast majority of the cases, not all of them, but the vast majority of the cases, 1,100 of them, from Design Electronics here in town. They were able to give us a better price on the cases than what Apple was able to provide us. So I'm really pleased that we will be able to do this project with your support, hopefully, and also support one of our local businesses. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Anyone have questions for Mark?
Mark, is there any reason why you can't get them all from them then? Or, I mean,
200 of the cases are actually, they're the cases with the attached keyboards for them. And those right now, the manufacturer Logitech on those is only distributing those through Apple's education channel. So unfortunately, I cannot get all of them from Design Electronics. I wish I could, to be honest, but I can't.
That's great.
Madam Chair, Steve, this is for you. Might these 5 days be used somewhat for the elementary teachers? Obviously, we have a whole new system of home learning with younger kids, and the preparation training might be more essential this year for those people.
Yep, I mean, there's going to be a lot of technological pieces. You know, for example, we're going to go E12 or K12 Google Classroom to get us all on the same platform. So there's going to be training to go along with that. Certainly, we'll continue in the realm of modern teacher with training. Certainly, learning how to use the iPads at an advanced level for our teaching staff will certainly be one of those things that they can use. We are not mandating exactly everything that the teachers will be using those 5 days for. We'll certainly give options across the board from July 15th, basically July 22nd on through August. But yes, certainly that is one of the ways that they can use their time, Brad. Absolutely.
One other question, Mark, this will be my last question. We have had many, well, I don't want to say problems, but we have some people that don't have internet access. Does this include, or are we looking at figuring out how we can get hotspots to people that don't have internet? Because it looks like internet has got to be required with this somehow.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. One of the things that we're doing is we're working the problem from a couple of different fronts. So one of them is that we're meeting with various vendors to see what they have available to help us with. And we're also looking at, we know that Sourcewell is looking at a solution, more of a region-wide solution. What could that look like? But we're also trying to think about in our planning, how can we plan and plan for the use of those devices for kids when how can we plan in such a way that students who maybe don't have internet access still can participate fully in the learning activities while at home?
Correct.
If that's a hotspot type device, then we'll have to figure that out and see what that looks like. But we could jump the gun right now and go out and buy a whole bunch of devices and not use them, and then get stuck with a bill, a monthly bill for these things, and really not utilize them. Or we can wait to 6-8 weeks here, figure out what the plan is going to be coming from the state, and then make a more educated decision moving forward as to what's the best way to deploy some sort of mobile devices. We know we're going to have to deploy some, but until we can fully figure out what that plan's what the plan from the guidance from the state is going to be, we can't really work with the families to fully figure out what the appropriate device would be for their household. Because it's like with everything else, it's not going to be a one size fits all. We can't just go out and buy all Verizon hotspots and know that they're going to work. I know that we have several households where we've tested the hotspots the district has tested hotspots from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and not a one of them worked at their house. So we've got some challenges to figure out, and I'm hoping that once the guidance comes out, we'll be able to make a better educated guess as to how we're going to tackle them. And I'm also hoping that Sourcewell is going to step up and bring forward some sort of a solution that will be able to help us as well. I think it's going to come through one of their contracted, their contracts that solution will be made available. But if that is, then hopefully it at least will help us on the price.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions of Mark before we vote? Hearing none, we'll vote. Let's see, Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
myself, yes. So we are down, that has passed. We're down to item number 12, which is adjournment. So,
Madam Chair, this is Brad. I make a recommendation and we adjourn this meeting.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. I'll just do an all call vote. Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think I heard everyone. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Mark.
So we'll have one more meeting by Zoom. And hopefully my
Yes.
battery will last, or I'll keep it plugged in.
That's the June
Good.
29th meeting or whatever it is.
29th,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Bye.